thank you all so much for coming tonight. This is our first Mind Health 360 event in conjunction with an absolutely wonderful How To Academy. And I just wanted to thank John Gordon and Sam Algranti, who've been incredibly supportive and wonderful. And as you'll see on your chairs, there's a postcard. And for a chance to win Mandy Saligari's wonderful book, Proactive Parenting, and also a chance to get the video of this event and to hear about further events like this, and also to keep up to breast with integrative mental health news, then if you put your email on the postcard, we'll collect it at the end of the event. And so just a little bit, Mind Health 360 aims to raise awareness about integrative mental health and functional medicine psychiatry, which are growing and exciting movements in the US, which are also coming here now. And what they try and do is get to the root cause of mental health issues, as opposed to treating the symptoms. And so they look at all the factors that impact your mental health, from the biochemistry, so hormones, gut, toxicity, nutritional deficiencies, to the psycho-spiritual, such as childhood trauma, lack of purpose, stress, to lifestyle behavioral issues such as poor sleep, poor exercise, poor lack of sunlight, etc. And to find out more, you can visit the website at mindhealth360.info. And in the last 3 days, I was at the ICAD conference, which is the big addiction conference, and one of the psychiatrists there was talking about tech addiction. And he said, the internet is like having the largest slot machine on the world's smallest slot machine, i.e. your phone, and you're carrying this around daily in your pocket. And he runs the center, his name is Dr. Greenfield, and he runs the Center for Tech Addiction in Connecticut for tech and internet addiction. And he's just started a 30-bed rehab clinic in the States for people who suffer from tech addiction. So it's a real problem. We're really, really grateful and excited to have Don Grant from Los Angeles and Mandy Saligari from London, who are not only absolutely brilliant in their field, they're brilliant therapists, they're brilliant addiction therapists, and they know more than anybody about this, but also, as you'll see, they're incredibly compelling speakers, and so we're really lucky to have them. And now this is the part I'm going to read. Don Grant is an award-winning media psychologist and addiction specialist. He's the executive director of Resolutions Teen Center, which is an intense teen outpatient treatment program in Santa Monica. He's also the founder and CEO of Unboot Camp, which helps teens, young adults, and families struggling with device, social media, gaming, and cyber pornography addiction. Don is also co-chairman of the American Psychological Association Device Management Committee and has been commissioned by the APA to write the only book on healthy digital management and the practice of good digital citizenship. He regularly appears in the media, including appearances on The Daily Show, Fox News, and in publications such as the LA Times, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and Forbes. Mandy Saligari is an addiction, parenting, and relationship expert from her outpatient clinic, Charter Harley Street, which she founded in 2008. She specializes in working with individuals and families affected by broad-spectrum addiction and addictive behaviors. She's a regular contributor to PSHE programs in schools across the country, presenting for teacher training and to students and parents on issues such as understanding addiction, today's teenager, and proactive parenting. And Proactive Parenting is her latest book, which was published by Orion Press, and it's currently an Amazon bestseller. And as I said, you have a chance to win if you include your email on the postcard. And she's also on the third session of her program called In Therapy for Channel 5, which has completed 3 series. And in fact, one of the reasons I wanted to do this event, in fact, was to try and get my kids to listen to this, because essentially they won't listen to me. And so I thought, if they heard it from Mandy and Don, maybe they would actually pay attention. So we'll be listening to both of them speak for about 25 minutes each, and then there'll be about 15 to 20 minutes for questions. And we're really excited about having these two. So thank you all.
you know, if you didn't post it, it didn't happen. 1 minute. I have a Fortnite round going. I've got to continue my snap streak, and I've got an eBay auction. I know I'm going to get this belt. Hi, thanks for coming. My name is Don Grant, and I really appreciate you coming out tonight. And I know the kids are sitting there going, and I see you. I know what they made me. I know. No, this is not punishment. I know. And there may be prizes, so pay attention. I work with healthy device management and the practice of good digital citizenship. So I just want you, especially kids, who are all hating on me right now. See your face. I'm not here to demonize technology. It is a wonderful tool. It is an amazing thing that connects us or can connect us. And it also is something we use in our daily lives. And just pragmatically speaking, if I tried to say, like you do with other quote-unquote addictions, that, oh, you know, abstinence is the only way. Well, that's ridiculous because it's not the world we live in. But this is a brave new digital world. And what I said earlier is what I work with. It's healthy device management. And remembering that these little devices are tools. They're the tool. And these phones and these devices we carry, very soon we won't even carry them because what's coming will mean that we don't have to have them. Once augmented reality and virtual reality become more mainstream, you will see what's going to come. And it can be wonderful. So again, I'm not trying to demonize it, but what I'm afraid of and what I'm worried about is how reliant we become upon them. How we no longer know how to accept an organic bid for connection, meaning we're all sitting, standing, anywhere we are, in a queue, as you would say over here, or in a waiting room, or here. And we're desperate to get on these devices, which means that we are becoming more disenfranchised. And I'm going to tell you that I talk about this in the beginning of my book. I was so excited in the late 90s when I heard about this thing called the internet. Because I thought, finally, this could be a tool that could help bring us all together as a global nation. We would start to learn that we're all the same. And I thought, this will connect us. But then, as we've discovered in a mere couple of decades, it became a marketplace. It became a place that delivers platforms that certainly for kids can be risky. And it became a place for us to avoid. It became a place for us to hide. It became a place for us to spend screening, scrolling, hours and hours and hours and hours. So, and people ask me, how did this happen so quickly? Well, and this is the chance for the first prize. Oh, let me get the clicker, I'm so sorry. So, let's start here. So, this is really my question. Because I really wonder and I ponder. I am the last generation of what's called a digital immigrant. But I'm the father of the first generation of digital natives. So I don't want you to think I'm some Nostradamus rock star who came up with this because, you know, an Apple device fell on my head like Newton. No, it's because in 2008, we got my daughter her first device. And something happened that made me realize that these things could be very dangerous. So I started looking at them and investigating them and researching them. But what I really care about when we're talking about things like social media is this. And only you know this in your secret heart. Only you know. Because social media is great. I love the fact that I can connect. I have friends all over the world. I've met some while I've been in London here. I have family who live in different places in the United States than me, and I love being able to follow their lives. But I also wonder sometimes when I see posts, what is the real motivation? Because my close circle of friends face to face, they know what I'm doing. I share with them, we talk. So they know I'm in London. They know what I'm doing here. They're my close friends. So the idea of having to post that I'm here or that I'm in the tabernacle tonight, what am I really doing that for? And only you know why you engage. But I wonder about it. And yes, here's the first prize. So, I said I'm a digital immigrant. And I said my children are digital natives. For the chance at a prize, does anyone know the difference between a digital immigrant and a digital native? If you do, please raise your hand. Yes, over here. Can you please tell us? A digital immigrant and a digital native.
A digital immigrant wasn't born when the internet was or didn't grow up with the internet around them all the time.
Right.
A digital native did.
And so what would then a digital native be?
Like our children.
Right. Very good. Congratulations, there's your prize. Now everyone said there's prizes. Everyone says, I want to answer the next one. There's more questions. But that's correct. So the last 2.5 generations of digital immigrants, me, I'm what's called a Gen Xer by some people, are now walking this planet. And I'm very concerned that in a mere 15 years, I feel like we have lost something that has been so important to us, that has kept us so connected for millennia. Now we're becoming disenfranchised, we're becoming detached. And it's happened so quickly that I fear, and I worry about the things that I fear that we are losing. Like I said, the organic bid for connection. So, an organic bid for connection means that I see someone, and we look at each other, and someone extends an organic bid to connect. This is how friendships used to be made. This is how friendships were made. Maybe you look up whatever happened to love at first sight. Now it's love at first swipe. Those laugh here going like, oh, so I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about those things like connection. I'm concerned about silly things, and you can judge me all you want. I'm concerned about things like the loss of the love letter. Now it's an email or a text. What's up, Guru? I'm concerned about memories that are imprinted. Everyone's now taking pictures with their phones, and they say, oh, I'm taking those pictures with my phone. So they can end on a camera roll that has 20,000 plus pictures, and then you'll never look at it again. So there's other things. I'm concerned about loss of memory. Studies are showing that memory is decreasing very quickly because we don't have to use that muscle anymore, and we are evolutionary creatures. So I'm concerned that now we say, oh, who was I'm in Notting Hill. What was that movie? Who was that at? And I don't stop to try to work my memory. I just Google, oh, Julia Roberts. So I'm worried about that. But I want to give you some stats. And I have them written down because I want to get them right, because I was trained by a ninja academic mentor who wants me to get things correct. Now, I'm going to give you some stats. I have stats, and when I presented earlier, I had them for the UK. They're very similar. But I'm giving you the ones for the US because the ones in the United Kingdom that I found were a little older and were still stark, but they weren't as current. So, anxiety and depression in high school kids has been on the rise since 2012 after decades of decrease. According to in the United States, the National Institute of Mental Health, 30% of girls and 20% of boys, which equals in the US 6.3 million teens, have been treated for an anxiety disorder. Now, I want you to keep in mind that these statistics are underreported because of the nature of what they are. So in statistics, and someone who does research knows that we have to increase that a little bit, or a lot. According to the Department of Health and Human Services, in 2015, about 3 million teens, 12 to 17, were treated for a major depressive disorder in the last year. More than 2 million teens in the United States admit that depression impairs their daily functioning. Self-harm and suicide is on the rise in a way that we don't understand. A study of pediatric hospitals released earlier this year showed that the suicide rates for adolescent boys and girls have been steadily rising after an incredible decrease in stabilization. Since 2007, they've been up. Suicide rates for girls aged 15 to 19 doubled from 2007 to 2015, when it reached its highest point in 40 years. Again, this isn't America, but I compare, and what's happening here is it's parallel. One is too many, in my opinion. So why? So as researchers, we want to know why, right? So some of the variables we look at, and certainly in the United States, are there are post 9/11, meaning what happened in 2001, generation. So they're scared. You don't have this here, but in the United States, the pandemic of school shootings is just unconscionable. And it just happened yesterday in Denver. So the kids today, when I was a kid, gonna date me. When I was a kid, we used to get under our desks because we had to put our hands over our heads because there might be some kind of, atomic explosion like that desk is really going to protect us. Today I go to schools and I visit them and the kids are just posting up on their phones, just go like, what's up? And that's the training to keep them safe. They hit puberty time when technology and social media, i.e. the ability to compare and contrast themselves to other kids, became evolved. They feel overexposed and underdeveloped. They feel very scared about the future, and they're sitting there in the dark. When I was a kid, they gave us the news through newspapers, through television a couple of times a day, or from our no good peers is where we got a lot of fake news. Today, the kids have access to every single thing that's happening. Every study showing the world is no more unsafe than it ever was. The difference is that we see it more. These kids are comparing again themselves to all the other kids who are curating social media profiles that the kids themselves are creating. And I don't think that they're trying to post up stuff that doesn't make them look in a good light, or they're exaggerating. And these kids are sitting there thinking, well, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing that. And all the kids, the currency are likes and hearts and shares and followers, and they all want to be a Kardashian. And they're thinking they're never going to make it, and they think they need a Nobel Peace Prize by 9th grade in order to get into a low-end college, and they're worried that the polar ice cap is going to cause the entire world to flood. All of these things, real or perceived, these are children. And they're looking at this along with another thing. They also tell me they're bored. Well, okay. They're bored. And boredom will generate the need to go and create, whether it's a new relationship, whether it's a new hobby, or imagination. I'm worried about the death of imagination. I'm worried about the death of storytelling. I'm worried about the things that now that all the kids and us are hiding in these devices, and I don't understand how in such a short time it is our go-to. I think the internet is the most powerful invention man has ever created. This is an opinion. But I believe the internet is the most powerful invention man has ever created. Sorry, Wheel, you had a really good role. But I think you've just now moved to the silver platform, because I do believe the internet is the most powerful tool that also has become a distraction, a hiding place, a weapon. And I was asked during the Q&A of a presentation, how did this happen? And I say, well, my opinion again is that we gave ostensibly the most powerful tool that man has ever invented to kids. We gave it to kids because we're digital immigrants. We don't understand it. We didn't. We tried. And some of us have gotten pretty facile at it. Swipe. And some of us are just as interested in how many likes and shares, and our whole life depends on it. Our ego depends on curating likes from people that aren't even our close friends. But we gave it to kids because we didn't get it. And we gave it to the digital natives to explore, to develop, to create, to play in. I don't think you give your kids a set of power tools without directions. Hand them to them and say, have at it, and not expect there to be any blood. And this is where cyberbullying comes in. Because if you put kids together in any situation, and you can go to any playground, the socialization happens quickly. And so what I call this is that the internet has become a digital Lord of the Flies. And there's always going to be a Ralph, and there's always going to be a Jack. And there's always going to be a Piggy. And that kid is sitting in the dark comparing and contrasting against fake profiles, or seeing a picture of their peers or their chums, and it says, besties forever, and they're all out doing something fun. And that kid thought that he was a part of that crew. And he sees it, or she sees it, and they were not included. And when I talk to parents, I say there's one piece that just tells me everything I need to know, and it scares me also, and it's called filters. Because suddenly with this became something called filters, #filter. And what you do is, and boys do it too, we do it too, but the studies are really looking at teenage girls, and a teenage girl will take 75 selfies before she chooses the one that she decides to post. And she will auto-tune it, and she will filter it. And if it doesn't get enough likes, hearts, shares, or #dayams, she will take it down and go into a shame spiral. And filters are sending the message of death. Anyone? I'm not good enough. And I'm 15. All right. I also worry about the things that we're finding out from the people who created this. Now, here's the truth. Facebook founding president Sean Parker admitted he knew from the beginning, and they knew from the beginning, that they were creating something addictive that was going to leverage a flaw in the human psychology called the variable reward system. It's what Kirkland was talking about, the slot machine. So swipe, swipe, swipe means that we never know where we're going to get. We're never going to go, and we're going to stay engaged. They did it purposely. Bill Gates believes kids, sorry, apologies again. Bill Gates believes the minimum age for a child to have a smartphone is 14. Don't hear from kids. Bill Gates said that. Christian Marchiello, who's one of the inventors of Apple's push-to-notification system, and one of the people who had hired some psychologists to say, we want that slot machine thing, but we can't put a lever on the phone. And they came up with the closest thing. Same action, same pathways to the brain. Swipe, swipe, swipe is the closest you get to this. He has quit the industry and he's training as a neurosurgeon. L'Oreal Bricho, who also created the push-to-refresh motion, he left the Silicon Valley and he's now apparently building a house in New Jersey and won't talk to the press. Justin Rosenstein and his colleague Leah Pearlman, who invented the like feature, have both deactivated theirs and said that they know they made a big mistake. And she has compared herself to Oppenheimer, who invented the atomic bomb. I think that's a little lofty, but... Tim Cook, Apple's chief executive. I don't have a kid, but I have a nephew. There are some things I won't allow, and I will not allow him on social media. His predecessor, Steve Jobs, would not allow his children to have iPads his company created. Ned Siegel, the CFO of Twitter, has sent less than 2 tweets a month for the last 6 years, and he's the boss. He didn't even send one to say you're fired. We're not a brand, but try telling that to a digital native. All right, so 3 things you need to know, because let's lighten it up a little bit. Everyone's like, whoa. But I don't think I'm telling you anything that you don't already know, or you wouldn't be here. So if you're here in this audience, I'm leveraging the fact that you're here and you want to learn something. So let me teach you 3 things. First thing is, and I know in the UK it's different, but we don't call it technology addiction, and it's not going to be called that. It's called device management, and the reason why that happened is the American Psychological Association years ago tried to play and tried to test technology addiction, but then realized that we all qualify for it, so that's not going to work. So we call it device management. It's called, by the way, a GIF, like the peanut butter we have in the States. Not a GIF, even though it's spelled G-I-F. And still, Steve Wilhoit, who invented it, said he wanted to call it a GIF, but if he spelled it with a J, he'd probably get sued. So you can walk out here and you can tell your friends, oh, it's a GIF. They'll say, no, it's a GIF. Say, well, why don't you Google it? And the third thing is, it's a meme, not a GIF. They're 2 different things. All right, lastly, we know that if it's not posted on social media, like I showed in the beginning, it never happened, really. And we're living in something called absent presence. So that's getting the front out of the way, and my mentor would be happy that I did the stats. Let's go. So now, the most dreaded words ever spoken in the history of mankind. Anyone know what the most dreaded words ever spoken in the history of mankind are? Who said that? I'm not in America. They might not let me back in now. Okay. He said Trump. Most dreaded words ever uttered. No Wi-Fi. That deserves a prize. Anyone else? Turn off the kids' heads. Just turn off Fortnite. I go into any parent group and I say Fortnite and I watch the parents' heads explode and the kids like, they look like a bunch of tweakers on Skid Row. Yeah, here's what I think it is. Oh my goodness! Now this became the first ethical question that I face and that we face because we're sitting somewhere and you'll say, could you please turn off your devices? And I think, well, turn off my device. Oh my God, I got to sit there for a whole hour and listen to this guy. What happens if there could be a zombie apocalypse? Yeah, probably going to happen. Well, just so you know, if there is a zombie apocalypse and they start storming the door, does anyone watch The Walking Dead? Okay, so I need my glasses. How do you take out a zombie? Anyone? No one knows. You should know this. Straight through the head. Don't stab them. They will bite you. You'll be a zombie. Straight to the head. So if there is a zombie apocalypse during the hour that Mandy and I are speaking, just know. But why can't I turn it off? And I'm going to tell you right up. I myself, I just want to put it on vibrate just in case. Which means that I'm already in what we call absent presence. Now, here's some facts. Now, these are for the UK. So these are legit. US adults, UK adults spend an average of 8 hours of, that's a lot of time. This is an average. Fortnighters. Now this is cool. Number 2, silver swipers are the fastest growing UK adopters of smartphones. Go grandma. They are just like swiping, looking for someone. Hey, what's up? Oh, looking good. They've gotten it. The octogenarians, the septuagenarians, and they're in. The average UK user checks their smartphones 150 times a day, admit they regularly use their devices while with friends, watching television, eating, and while working, or with their romantic partner. 25% admit sending texts to friends or families while in the same room. Now I know this because I'm like, my kids will text me from the other room. Like, Dad, can you I'm like, ignore. And then I text them back at a certain point a few days later, hey, what's up? If I don't see you, you're not getting your allowance. Oh, they post right up in. They don't text me about that. But you see it, you text. We're texting from different rooms. 66% of adults say they hate how much time they spend on their phone. Okay, well, you hate it. What do you want to do about it? And the kids are coming back at us. Diane Sawyer did something on ABC last Thursday night where she had a bunch of kids, and I hear it because I work with teens, and my teens will be like, well, you know, my mom tells me to get off the phone, but she's on the phone all the time. My dad's playing Fortnite! And I worry about this also, because right here I'm going to tell you I got some concerns, because if anyone knows anything about something called attachment theory, one of the problems if you don't have good, secure attachment as a child during a very important developmental stage, then it can cause what's called later disorganized attachment is one of the not good ones, and then these people struggle with relationships their whole lives. And I'm worried about something that I write about in my book that I'm hypothesizing, and I think it should be investigated, that we're going to see a generation amongst a lot of other problems that there's going to be called something that I'm right now calling digital disorganized attachment, meaning that the parents are there, but they're in absent presence. So, for example, the mom is sitting watching football up in the stands, and her kid is playing, and she goes, and the kid is like going, and then he looks up to the stands to see his mom, and she's looking down at her device playing Words with Friends. She's there, but she's in absent presence. The little girl who's the first time in her little ballet recital, she looks adorable, and she's on the stage, and she's doing her little things, and she's doing this. And she's looking out, and she's just new at this, and she really needs, because we're animals. We are just called human species. But we need to see smiles, we need to see affirmations. And she looks out, and what she sees is the back of her parents' iPad instead of their faces. I'm sorry, is it inconvenient to watch the recital right now because you need to send this to grandma? And I'm worried about this. And the kids are saying, you're coming at us, but you're just as bad. I don't know. But I think we need to be mindful of not being in absent presence as parents. The kids are all going, yeah, I see you guys, yeah. Whoa, okay, middle of the night. And I think you know this here, that Fortnite has been cited in 162 divorces in the UK. And on and on. So, these are a lot more stats. What I'm trying to demonstrate here is not to give you a lesson in this, because again, I'm just trying to show you that it's legit. Maybe you don't qualify for this, maybe you don't, but you're here, so you're curious. So I have you as a captive audience, face to face. 10 years from now, we will not be doing this. People, I'm afraid, will not gather. I'll be a hologram that you can have streamed into your living room to do this. And you can mock me the entire time, especially the kids, because I'm not really there. But today we're gathered together. There are very few gathering places just left for humans. We used to gather around the fire pits in the beginning of time, and we told stories, and we bonded and made covalent bonds with one another. We need to band together. It's how we became, with no fur, no teeth, we became of species. If you had aliens come here and said, what is the highest level? Who runs the planet? I don't think they'd be looking at the pale, toothless, nailless, furless creatures. But because we have the ability to reason, and we have the ability to band together, and we created villages, and we gathered in those villages, and we gathered in the town squares, and we gathered in the churches or the worshiping places, and we built barns and houses. We gathered together. And then fast forward, we gathered in malls and movie theaters and theaters like this. And we gathered together as people. Like-minded people who gathered together and made covalent bonds of friendship. And I don't know where those places are anymore except online. And this has happened in 15 years. And then there's the robots. Yeah, the robots. And it starts with Alexa. And I find myself even knowing better. I'm polite. I feel bad. If I'm sharp with Alexa, because maybe I haven't had my coffee that morning, so I'm like, Alexa, stop playing that song. Oh, I'm so sorry, Alexa. It's a voice. Now, what's going to happen when we can actually create playmates? And you can. Go online. My friend didn't believe me, and within 10 minutes, she designed her own playmate robot. They're very expensive. And here's where it starts. And we do this. And I'm a parent because it's easier. Because we used to put it in front of the television. But we don't know yet with the saturation of all this media. And we don't know what all the stimulation. And we don't know what this is going to do. We won't know for a long time. And everyone's saying ADHD. I don't know. But I'm looking at this going, okay, look. How are you going to give this baby a set of blocks to play with after she's seen God? You ever tried or seen someone try to take away the device from their baby? But you're going to say, oh no, play with these dolls. Play with these blocks. Build something. Be imaginative. No, I'm just going to build something online. These two boys are already on Tinder. They're hooking something up for tonight. And this is what it causes. And these are just some of the symptoms. And we're wondering, we see anxiety, depression, we see stress in our kids. We see it, I work with them, I see it. And we get to the nature root cause because they don't have any external things that make them feel good about themselves. They're not attached to any hobbies, they're not attached to any real friends, they're left out, they're judging themselves based on the fake profiles curated by others. And we're wondering, well, don't wonder, because it's right here. And we're not going to see for a long time. We're seeing a rise in child obesity that we haven't seen since we started to actually have food that we could choose and self-select. And we're seeing it. And these things in 10 years from now, I'm worried about what it's going to show. Because these are our kids. And we have 2.5 generations left to teach them and remind them. But we also have to be mindful of our own behavior. And we have to model the behavior that we want to see in them. And it's hard sometimes, and these kids are really crafty. I joke that if I am 14 steps behind the kids on any given day, I am crushing it. I've got kids who can have all of the Wi-Fi and everything. And please, the go-to is not to turn off the Wi-Fi, folks. That just punishes you. They will get on it. I've seen kids who will go into the garage, get an old Tamagotchi and a baby monitor, and be playing Fortnite in 10 minutes. Or less. I know how to do it. Brilliant. And so, this is what it's all about for me. We're living in a world that in 15 years, we just exist. And we choose it. If we're sitting down somewhere, we won't just sit and look and talk to them. My kids get crazy because I talk to anyone and I help people. And I'll be in the elevator. I'll be, hey, how you doing? My kids are like, Dad, stop it. Because the digital natives don't want to talk to people. They don't want to engage. They just want to just do their thing and be always on the device. So we have a little bit of time to reverse it, but you don't miss what you don't know. And what my concern is that once this 2.5 generations of digital immigrants who used to know, who used to meet people, who used to go out and play, who used to have imagination, we're going to be gone and we're going to abdicate to kids who we did a disservice to because we didn't model the right behavior, we didn't teach them. And that's okay, but that's our choice. But if you're feeling that, then don't complain about it if you're part of the problem and you're sitting there and you are the one who's also hiding and using your device as a distraction. Again, they are a tool. I'm not trying to demonize them. There's great stuff to do. But just know that they purposely are trying to capture you online. So that they drop 12 episodes of a series the same night, and then they have auto feeds on videos, and they suggest things, and you say, I'm just going to do one more, I'm going to do one more. Okay, I got to stop after this one, and then it feeds. So, and the other thing is the alerts. We're getting constantly barraged with all these alerts, and we get a really nice little rush of dopamine because it buzzes in our device. And oh my God, someone thought of me, it's an alert. Oh, those shoes I was looking at are now 20% off on sale because I've been rebranded because I searched for them. The algorithm knew that and then pushed it back to me, and now they're trying to get me to buy them. It's not somebody. So all of these alerts, you don't need them. You can select the ones you want. Or this. So this is another solution that I don't recommend. This is the city of Chongqing, where they just decided that because they couldn't deal with the problem, they decided to create the texting lane. Yay, that's not too codependent. All good, we're walking down the street, and little girl, watch out, incoming! She didn't even know, she's like, she's about to get mowed down. This guy over here just opted out, and he's ready to he'd rather be hit by a bus than by someone walking texting. He's like, I'll take my chances. Oh, this is really good. These were academics. These academics, they were brilliant. You're like, okay, all the kids are getting out of class and immediately grabbing for their device. So they're falling down the stairs. Okay, the walk, run, and text lanes in the staircase. That's not a recipe for disaster. This lady, this is in my hometown. I saw this. You may see this. This woman is crossing the street. She's looking the other way. This is a very busy street. The kid's probably like on his iPad. He's like, what's up, Mom? And she's arguing. She was arguing on her phone. And she's not even looking. And it's a good thing this guy's not using drugs or drinking and decides to make a right turn. And we see this. You guys see it all the time. So this is mine. Just a little bit. Maybe take a digital Sabbath like the Silicon Valley decided to do, and just one day, maybe Sundays, turn off your device. Don't worry, everything's digitally archived. You won't miss anything. That's the great stuff about this. You're not going to miss it. Because everything you need to find, it's like the jump rope game that never ends. You can jump in any time and go back and see if you really are feeling a lot of FOMO. What's FOMO? Whoever got it, yay! Fear of missing out. Joy of missing out. Joy of missing out is my friends who see pictures of this presentation and they've seen it 15 times and they're so happy they don't have to do it. They're like, oh, yeah, you like Don, great job in London, but I've seen that thing so many times I could do it better than him. Fear of missing out, don't worry, it's all digitally archived forever. And this is important when you post things, especially for you young kids. Because just know that when I hire people, I don't look at their resume, I go right to what? Their social media. I work with kids, I need to be very careful. Because parents are going to look at my therapists and my clinicians and my people, so you need to be very careful what you post. Also, as you grow older, recruiters, intern opportunities, and even though we're harvesting and trying to cultivate all these likes and shares, and we're so busy trying to get followers, we don't think about the people who are out there judging us. And they will never tell us. Because we're so busy concentrating on the likes, we're not looking at the negative energy, which is people sitting out there, and they will never tell us that they actually made an opinion about us based on our presentation online. So this is Absent Present Mother of the Year Award. I've got a lot of these that I show. This mom, I was standing in line, it's a fancy hotel. I was presenting at a conference in San Francisco last August. And I was standing behind these two. It's a very fancy hotel. I wasn't staying there, it was very fancy. But I was having breakfast with a friend. Eggs were like $40. So this is not just a diner where you just kind of show up. She was there with her two daughters. That daughter with the suns in her eyes, I overheard her say, Mom, there's something I need to tell you, it's important. And the mom said, wait till we sit, honey, wait till we sit and we can talk. They sat down, the mother immediately pulled out her iPad and started streaming a movie. And I couldn't believe it. And I thought, well, maybe the zombie apocalypse happened and it's Sky News and I didn't know. So I run over and I tried to look. No, she was just watching a movie on Netflix. Her daughter was trying to talk to her. And her mom kept saying, well. And then they got in a fight. This guy over here is on his phone while that girl's trying to talk to him. Those two over there are actually laughing. Look at her face, she's smiling. There's a covalent bond happening there between two friends who do not have their phones on the table. Look at that girl's face. So, social media characters. I'm not going to go through them. But within social media engagement, we all choose. It's like when you play those games that you can waste time on forever, saying like, which Downton Abbey character are you? I always get the old lady. I never want her. I always try to then go back in and waste time trying to manipulate my answers. I still get her. So instead of playing that game, you can play this game. Which one of these are you? So these are the ones that we've identified that are actually how we relate online, except we're all this. So, good digital citizenship. Here's what you ask your question, because if it's a good idea to post today, it's a fine idea to post tomorrow. You don't want to do the 3 a.m. digital walk of shame where you posted something and the next morning you go, oh my God, I was so tired last night. Oh my God, did I post that? So, this is all you have to ask. Is it kind? Is it meaningful? Why are you posting it? What are your goals? Could it offend anyone? Yeah, your ex is probably going to see it, but so will everyone else. And then this is for the gamers. So, establish a specific routine and time. Do not negotiate. Oh, kids, I'm so sorry. Look at him. He's like, now he's in forward. Do not negotiate time. Extra game time. Don't get into that battle. They can play as long as their grades are good, their homework's done, and they're outside. I teach healthy device management. It's a blend. So as long as they're doing the other things, there's nothing wrong with playing games, because people used to sit in front of the television and watch football all day Sunday and relax. If they're playing with friends or if they've got, then let them play, but do not negotiate with them. Because what happens when you have a gamer and the parents will call me and say, oh my God, my kid, I tried to pull him off of Fortnite and he bit me. True story, and it's not the first time. I say, well, you don't understand how the brain works. So all that's working in that kid's brain is he's been playing this game and he's got cortisol, adrenaline, and dopamine. That's all that's running through his brain. It's like pulling a soldier out of a war suddenly and asking him to sit at the kitchen table and do your algebra. So I tell the parents, throw your kids in a room, throw some meat and water in there, lock the door, run for your life, come back 3 days later, your kid will emerge. Very lovely. But these, and remember, you own the technology. Let them play as long as they're doing their other things. So there's a balance. It's okay. And then this is what I tell parents. It starts when you first get them their first device. Parents who come to me at 15 or 16 years old and they ask me how to help them, I say, well, it's a little late. So people say, what age, what time, how old? We can talk about that. It's different for every family system. But this is how it starts. You buy that first device for them. So sitting them down and explaining it. Get involved in it. Say, this is a privilege. This is a tool. I'm giving you this, but I need you to be careful. There's predators out there. There's all sorts of things you can fall into. Keep controls on it when they're young. These kids are being exposed to things at 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. The parents do not want to believe it, but you need to know that they are, and you need to monitor it and be very careful. So, but you start this when you give them their first device. Follow these things. Because you're paying for it, you bought it from them, and I'm telling you, sorry kids again. When they ask for their first device, I'm pretty sure they will agree to any conditions you offer at that time to get it. Once you've gotten it for them, it's kind of over. But when you first give it to them, or when you get them an upgrade, and if you decide they need the phone that has internet access, ask them, be honest with them, sit with them and say, okay, present to me. I'm not going to be closed-minded. Tell me why now you need. We gave you the basic flip phone. Now you want the smartphone. We know why. Because it is internet access. You want these social media apps. We know that. Tell me why. Give me the argument. Listen to them, and then you can make a decision. But you need to do it in the beginning. Because if you wait too long, and then you're on your phone the whole time, then you've lost the argument, and it's just going to be an argument. Or there's this.
Don.
This is a colleague of mine. She allows me to use her face. She allowed me to take this picture of her daughter was starving as she was working. And she comes to my presentation. Her name is Elena, and she said, don't even try to block my face. I'm so happy you showed me this. This changed me. Because her daughter is not having it. But she was sitting there, and they were waiting. The restaurant emptied. And her daughter's waiting to eat, and she just had one more thing at work to do, one more thing at work to do. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Oh. Thank you. Sorry, my mother raised me properly. Thank you so much, Kirkland. Thank you. I put it here, but Mind Health 360, if you don't know what it is, look it up. I give you permission to Google Healthy Device Management. Google it, find out who she is. She put this thing together, and thank you to her team also, and thank you to the Tabernacle. Thank you, coming kids.
And How
here.
To Academy.
All the kids. You can do your thing and change it. I'm going to make sure the kids all get a prize because they're not happy. Show me hands of the kids. Back there. My arm is terrible. Don't be greedy. I'll get the kids. Because the kids, if you give them a prize, they usually forgive you. I've learned with my own daughters. I'm not against a bribe with my own kids. There you go. Any other kids? Kids. Kids. Oh, really? Wow. Help him out. That wasn't good. Gee, what are you going to make me run for it? I don't have a Fitbit on. Nice hands. Who else? Whoa. Okay, you can keep that one because I'm not going to take it away. There you go. Any other kids? Kids. Kids. Did I miss any kids who are going to be right there? Go ahead. Don't be shy. That's what they're here for. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Mandy.
So, thank you. I'm not sure. That's the only slide I've got, so nothing particularly slidey. I'll talk into it in a moment. So I'm Mandy Saligari. I'm an addiction specialist. I'm also a recovering addict, and I'm a single parent of 3 teenagers. So I am up to my neck in this stuff. And my book, Proactive Parenting, I chose the name because I really believe in being proactive. I believe in recognizing as a parent that I've got my hand on the tiller and I have an influence here. And I also think that the whole kind of recovery from addiction model is about reparenting. I think that I need to learn how to look after myself, and I need to do that genuinely and sincerely, and then hopefully my children will pick that up, as well as all the stuff I consciously teach them. Can you turn the microphone down a bit, please? I'm getting an awful echo off it. Thank you. Gosh, that's better. I feel cut off from you by a microphone. So, what am I going to say? So what I want to say to you just at the outset, because there are probably lots of questions you want to ask. In the book, I outline all the manifestations of addiction, all the core characteristics of addiction, and a whole load of really practical things that you can do in terms of getting to know yourself better so your kid can't shoot the messenger, mainly. But also so that you learn what proper self-care is, so that you can stand firmly in your own shoes and you can be present in your life with your friends and with your kids if you've got them. But this is also about you yourself. It's not just for people who are parents. And when I think about addiction per se, because people say, how do we know when this has become a problem? How do we know when it's become addiction? The qualification of addiction, for me, is using something outside of yourself in an attempt to fix how you feel to the detriment of yourself. So the thing you use to fix your feelings causes trouble. And then you go and do it again, and you do it again. In the old days, when they talk about alcohol, they used to say, the man takes a drink, the drink takes a drink, and then the drink takes the man. And I find that just a really simple thought. So you want to use social media, you want to do gaming, the person takes the technology, then the technology takes the technology, and when does the technology take the person? So in order to assess that, you have to know who the person is. And if you're looking at your child, if I'm looking at my children, I have to know what's my stuff first so that I know the rest of it belongs to my kid. So there's a lot of this which is about having a sense of who you are first and foremost, because all the manifestations of addiction, of which I believe there are 15 common addictions, they are all things that people pick up as ways of coping with how they feel that become habitual. And I think that when you look at addiction per se, it's on a continuum. I mean, most people spot addiction when it's chronic, when you have your chronic alcoholic, your chronic drug addict, you're anorexic, you're self-harmer, or you're a chronic tech user. And you spot it when it's here, in the firefighting end, and everybody is just like, oh my God, this has just gone too far. But nobody airdrops into chronic addiction. You don't just wake up one day an addict. You've traveled on a continuum. So when I got into recovery in 1990, I was really interested in this, and I started thinking about what happened before. Because I think that the addictive processes are red herrings. Because if the power was really in the tech, or the drugs, or the alcohol, or the food, then all of us would fall foul of this. I don't think it is. I think it's in the person who picks it up. I think it's in how and why we use it. And I think that is exactly why children are so vulnerable to this, because they're all changing and developing. So that's why they need us in good enough shape as parents, to be able to give them a dignified guide. And that word dignity is something that we really need to think about when you're talking about intervening on your kids' tech use, because, and I will come to that. So I was figuring out what comes before in terms of clues, signs, because when I'm in front of parents and they say, how did we get here? One of the things I always say is denial. You've missed the clues. You've written off the clues as one-offs. You've said, oh, it only happens when they're tired. It only happens because he's angry. It only happened because I was tired, so I let him go on it all day. You pick up all the clues, you argue them away, and then there's no pattern there for you to spot. And then suddenly you wake up one day in this kind of firefighting end, wondering how the hell you got there. And the work I was doing was, what are the core characteristics of addiction? What is warped here on the continuum that leads us here? And I went to rehabs and treatment centres and recovery, and I was thinking, what do we teach in recovery for successful recovery? What do we teach in rehab for successful recovery? And it's this stuff. And right at the core of an addictive process is an avoidance of being vulnerable. That's what it's all about. And the other stuff comes off it. And if we kept got time, I will come back to it. But if you are really interested in it, I mean, I write in great detail about each one of those, what it actually means. Things like calling somebody a control freak is just unhelpful. It doesn't allow, it's a shaming statement, and it doesn't allow anybody any opportunity to change. What I know is that if somebody is super controlling, the likelihood is that at some point they've been super scared. Because the reason they control their environment so much is because of fear. So if a child, for example, is compelled to use social media, gaming, and devices, it might be because they are frightened of very simple human interaction. It might be that they are so isolated in terms of themselves in relationship that they rely on this kit, if you like, to act as the bridge for them. And that reliance, the focus becomes on the drug of choice. And everybody argues about the drug of choice. It's like anorexia. People are saying, you know, I've got my anorexic, I can't get her to eat. We do all we can to get her to eat. And my answer when I'm working with people is, within all the stuff of course people need to eat, is that simply the psychopathology of anorexia is finding safety in not needing. So if you force an anorexic to eat, what you're going to do is bring down their entire defense mechanism, because they're going to have to say, yes, that stomach rumble was me being hungry. In other words, I need. And that makes me vulnerable. And as an anorexic, I will deny that stomach rumble is my appetite, because my super objective is to not need. So we have to remember that these sort of drugs of choice, if you like, which is a bit of an oxymoron really, but they are red herrings in many ways. And we get drawn onto them because they are the emotive subject. And we try to control them. And as parents, we engage in a battle that we're going to lose. Because every battle we lose with our children isn't just a lost battle for us, it's a gain on side of, if you like, technology in this instance. So I think we need to be really careful. So I can go more into that in a minute if you're interested. Basically, the core characteristics are on the left. They're ordinary, normal human characteristics, warped if you are needing to defend against something so that you don't feel vulnerable. The middle bit, if you like, is some sort of attempt at very briefly explaining what they are. And the right-hand side is things that you can do to counter it. And again, there's lots of information on this in my book because I really want you to know. But the thing about technology, so it's just a very quick piece of advice, really. People often ask, as they do, Don, as you were saying, is, you know, when do I give my kid tech? What's the gig with giving them tech? And the cruelest trick of nature is that children are born and we are learning how to be parents. And for approximately the first 6 years of their lives, they're operating from the limbic region, not the frontal cortex. They're operating from the survival mode. They are blotting paper in water. They are soaking everything up. Not just the stuff when you say, right, I want to tell you something. They are listening to everything else. They're listening to you come rushing in the door going, oh, thank God for that. They just saw that. You know, they are watching every single thing you do. Why? Because as a girl, for mothers, you're their primary model. As a boy, for fathers, you're their primary model. And just to complicate the system, which everybody goes, what does that mean? So self-identity and self-esteem, same gender parent. Opposite gender, how I interface with the world, how I'm going to translate. Will you like me? Will I be successful? All the socializing type stuff. Very simple assessment tool. And what happens is that they are watching you. So they're in this state where they have no cognitive defense against the world, a way to rationalize. And they're just watching you and soaking things up. Now, if you give a child technology, if you give a child, here's your phone, here's your iPad, here's your whatever. If you give that child something that belongs to them at that age, you've given it to the survival part of the brain. So when you try to take it away, you have a war on your hands. Because this is like, I can't live without this. So many people, I did a program called Violent Child, Desperate Parents, and the amount of people who wrote in saying, what do I do with my terrible twos? When I try to take her phone away, she shows such terrible tantrums that the only thing that will soothe her is to give it back. And my answer to that is, when you give it back, you have just confirmed to her that the only thing that will soothe her will give it back. First and foremost, my recommendation is, do not give a child tech to belong to them pre-frontal cortex, pre-6 or 7. They can borrow a family piece of kit, if you like, for a time limit and for something specific, and tell them why. So yes, you can use mummy's phone for the next 20 minutes to watch Peppa Pig because you like it. Not because mummy wants you to be quiet so she can get on with the whatever. It's because you like it. So I'm going to teach you, firstly, that it's not yours. Secondly, therefore, I own it and I can take it back. There is a time boundary which I will monitor and which is consistent and clear. I will tell you what it is you're going to do, which we've discussed, and I'll tell you why you're doing it. So your relationship with this potent piece of kit is you're learning what you're going to do with it. You're introducing it to your child. And then I think as children, and I'm going to be relatively quick, graduate from the sort of 7 to 9, 10, 10 to 13, 13 to 15, 15 on, I think that you start to introduce ownership, self-regulation. In other words, it does belong to you, but I'm having it and you can have it for X amount of time for X purpose. Then you start to say, okay, you can have it for this amount of time. Let me know what you're doing on it, and you must always have access to all of their accounts. However, don't be naive. They may create accounts that you are not aware of. Just as a subtext to that, 2 things. One is, growing up is always going to be a game of cat and mouse. It's always going to be a game of cat and mouse. So play it. If my child wants to do something deceitful, firstly, they will have to try. Secondly, they'll have to lie. And if they respect me, which is the other point I want to make, they will feel bad about it. And that will be their teaching tool. I don't want to be your consequence. I'm not a policeman. I don't want to be your consequence. I don't want to be marching around like the bad guy. I don't want to be intervening. I don't want to be losing my shit. I don't want to do that stuff. Okay? I just don't want to be that person. So I'm not. So what I want to be able to do is to introduce to you technology. I want to introduce to you the concept that this will have an effect on you. and I want to help you manage it. Because here's the key. Technology in and of itself is an addictive, I have thought for a long time, is an addictive process. The other thing we know is that it is attached to the big guns that are drugs and alcohol. Neurologically, it is attached. So for parents, your opportunity to get one in the bank against dysfunctional drug and alcohol use before it kicks off is to teach functional technology use much, much younger. And it's the long game. You are in it for the long game. And I'm going to show you in a minute exactly how, and I will honour my promise around the fortnight conversation. If you think about something, I mean, if you think about walking through a forest or walking through sand, when you walk somewhere, you create a pathway. When you walk through the sand, you create a pathway, you create a line, you can see where someone's walked. It's exactly the same in the brain. When something happens and you react, you create a pathway in the brain between the thought and the feeling and the behavior. And if what you do every time you feel something is that you go ahead and use technology, for example, you create a pathway of dependence, so that every time you feel this feeling, just like with drinkers, every time you feel this feeling, you will automatically want to drink. Every time I feel this feeling, I automatically want to use tech. Every time I feel lonely, I automatically want to pick it up. And I forget the bit that means that I have to think and feel and create other pathways. And what Don's saying is right in a way that we have got to think about all the other things that we can do to counterbalance our screen use. So when you are teaching screen use to a child, one of the things that I think is very important is that you don't make a big deal of it. It's like, you know, I doubt some of you might. I mean, it is Notting Hill after all. But some of you might say, hey, it's a good time for you guys to learn how to have cocaine. So we're all going to go out and we're going to get loads of coke and we're going to learn how to do it. I mean, you're not exactly, and this is your big day. You know, this is what we're doing. You don't make a big deal of it. You're going to say, I want you to eat broccoli. Okay, I'd like you to read a book. I'd like you to tidy your room, and here's a phone for you to play on Peppa Pig. Now put that down. Have you finished tidying your room? You know, it's part of what we need to train our kids to do. Don't get all worked up and hyped about it, because remember the limbic region stuff, your children are listening to your adrenaline as well. They're listening to your reactions and your responses. So you graduate according, as Don said, according to the family culture as to what it is you want your children to have in terms of access. But around 13 to 15, I reckon you should be able to view their social media accounts and so forth, but really not comment. They're a bit like a ship in the harbour, so they're close enough for you to retrieve and patch up if they run into difficulty. But also you're on the sand and it is over to them. You want to look at them and trust your parenting and recognise, without having to micromanage, that you've done a good enough job. So you're sitting back watching them struggle, watching them try to come to terms with it, and watching them put into action, hopefully, the things that you've taught as a parent. Now, one of the things that gets in the way of children being able to learn from their parents is whether they respect them or not. And one of the things that we do as parents is we give them all the reasons not to respect us in those moments when we lose it. For example, if you've got somebody who's sitting there and they are playing Fortnite, they're not sitting there playing Fortnite like this. They are on headsets going, go, go, go on, go, no, no, go, no, I don't, oh, no. Okay, I'm behind him. Where did they go? Where did they go? I'm building. And you come in and you go, supper! And they're like, ah. And you're like, supper, darling, supper. What? Oh my God! Why do you have to come in like that? Jesus, yeah, sorry, I'll be back. Yeah, you can take it. Yeah, use it, take it. He's there, he's behind you. Yeah, get him. No, go on, that's fine. I'll be back with, what? Darling, it's supper. I'm not hungry. Yeah, are you okay? I am absolutely sick to death of this bloody machine. It's like, oh, turn it off. Oh my God, I was online. Gee, you know, don't you speak to me like that. I am sick to death of that thing. Get it off. Right, that's fine. Get up, Teddy. The child's there like... here's what happens next. In it goes. Sorry about my mum's psycho. I think she's having a melon. Oh my God, I hate her. I hate living here. Yeah, I will do. No, I don't give a shit. She's behaved like a complete, no, I don't care. Yeah, whatever, I don't care. Yeah, go on then. Yeah, go on. All right, let's go squad. Yeah, cool. Okay, hang on a second. Upstairs. Mummy, all right? That's okay. No, I'm all right. Darling, you all right? Why don't you ever do anything? Why is it always me? Boom. Downstairs. Yeah, go. Yeah, go on. Brilliant. What have they learned? Mum's psycho. What do we do? Okay, I'll tell you what's happening. Tell me if I'm wrong. I know perfectly well I was meant to come off. I know, I'm not stupid. I know I'm supposed to come off. And I know it's supper. It's really inconvenient. I'm in a really good game. I'm going to win. But I know I'm in the wrong. You just don't trust your parenting to believe that. You honestly think that when I go, and I tell you I don't care, and I tell you I'm not hungry, that I mean it. And you're mortally wounded by my words. What you want to do, as a parent, when that's going on, is take a deep breath and go, I'm going in. Do not underestimate what's about to go on. Plus, you're in it for the long game. You may not win overnight, because winning is having your child in good shape, in a decent relationship with Kit, eating and loving you. Okay? This is what I want. I want that bloody thing to get in the way. I bought it. So I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm thinking, okay, where are we at? Right. Did I tell him he can go on Fortnite for 2 hours? 2 hours ago. Is it an hour and a half ago? Is it an hour and 45 minutes ago? What is it? Okay? So maybe it's like, I told him he could go on for 2 hours. He knew it was supper at 7. It's now 6:30, right? Good call. Deep breath, come in. All I'm doing right now is flowing down a flag. So I go in and I'm just going to go, he's like that. And I wait. I just wait a minute. And he's like, because I don't want to I'm not a target. And then it's like, oh, shit. And all the stuff goes on. Don't bite. You should hear what's happening through the headphones. You're like, don't speak like that. Mrs. Saunders is going to hear you. It's like, you should hear what he's saying. Don't worry about it. And you stand there, and he's like, what? And you say, just to let you know, it's 6:30. Half an hour, okay? Done. I'm not going to bite. I'm not picking it up. It's not my problem. That agitation belongs to you in relation to that. I'm just making supper. 10-2, again, downstairs, and just go, 10 minutes, okay? That's it. And out. You are warned at this point. Really, disclaimer, done. I'm going to go in. Now, depending on how bad it is, you might have to do this several times. It might work once. If you have to do it several times, and I mean loads and loads and loads of times, the probability is that you have set the child up to believe that they can get away with it. Some of it's your stuff, okay? And you just have to wear it and you just have to earn it back. So what I want you to do is I want you to go in there and just to stand there and you wait. It's obvious, right? And then it will be, oh my God, I died because of you. What do you want? And you say, it's supper, I've given you the warning. Oh, but Moisey's only just come on. I never play with him. Oh, please. And you're just like, no, really sorry, not going on. Absolutely not. Time for supper. Well, I'm not hungry. It's time for supper, I've told you that. Well, I'm not hungry and I'm going to play with Moisey. And you just say, before you get said, I am really disappointed that you are putting this game ahead of your relationship with your family. And by the way, you don't stand there and go, boom, what are you going to say to that then? Big target, boom! You just deliver it and walk away. Let the healthy shame teach the child. Let the healthy shame teach the child. I am really disappointed that you put that game ahead of family relationship. I am. I am disappointed because I'm not an unreasonable parent. You can have 2 hours on Fortnite, that's fine. But I told you I want you off at 7, and I want you off at 7. And when you don't come off at 7, I'm hurt. Because I wanted to sit upstairs with the family, and you're putting this ahead. And more than that, you're not even aware of how agitated you are. Now, the child feels ashamed because generally speaking, if you've communicated it, they know that they've stepped over the line. What they want to do is not feel that feeling. I don't want to feel ashamed. I want to do what I want to do because I am a heat-seeking missile for what I want. And you are either in the way or on side. So what I want to do is take all that shame I'm beginning to feel and guilt and discomfort, and I want you to feel it. So I'm going to turn around and I'm going to use the F swear and I'm going to bait you and I'm going to be rude so that you blow so I can abdicate responsibility. Brilliant! Such a plan. And as a parent, tired with all these expectations, I made your favourite macaroni cheese. We're all upstairs, everyone's in a good mood, the sun is shining, the dog isn't farting, everything's great. And you blow it. And do you know what? I'm disappointed. And I show you that, and it opens something up, and boom, you poke me, I blow. Game over. Game over. It wins. I don't lose a point, I lose a point, and it wins a point, because now it's the anti-mum squad. So, what you want to do is teach healthy shame. Healthy shame will teach the lesson. Now, people say, should I? Right, that's it. You're not going to get any supper for that. You're going to bed hungry. No supper. Because you missed it. And everybody's going, yes, we're definitely going to teach a lesson here. The child comes upstairs and goes, I'm so sorry, Mum. I know I was really horrible to you. I don't know what it is. I think I've got a problem with tech. And Mum goes, I'm so glad you know that. You know, that's so sweet. I'm so sorry, Mum. I really wanted to see the family. So I'm so glad. I was disappointed too. I made macaroni. Oh, you're so lovely. It's hard, isn't it? Are you hungry? Should we make some pancakes? Come on. No. All you want to do is change as little as possible. They don't come up for tea. What you do is you leave the plate on the table with cellophane over it. Just let it get cold. Just leave it there. And when they come upstairs, hopefully you've got things like rules around no phones at the table and all that sort of stuff, which means when they come up to eat, no phones at the table, and they sit down, and you don't go in and sit with them. You don't give up your precious time. You've already sat at the table. You don't sit there and go, like you're waiting for them to go, I was in the wrong, Mum. You were right. No, I'm still feeling that unhealthy shame, and I am now spoiling for a fight. I want to look at my sister and go, what are you looking at? And she goes, eh! And he goes, oh, shut up. And she's still going, oh, shut up. And everybody goes, why are you talking to your sister like that? I hate this house. I've got to get rid of this shame because I don't like being in the wrong, because if I admit it, you'll take Fortnite away. No, I won't. I get it. It's very social. I like it. It's fun. Best way to stop them playing Fortnite, by the way, is to play it yourself. My son was like, Mum, can you get off now? It's hilarious. I was very bad at it. He's very embarrassed by, I couldn't do it. I'm like all over the place. But point is, do not give away your dignity. You want to teach your child something, you have to have dignity. You've got to be standing somewhere that says, nice try, sucker. You want to poke me, so I pay your debt. Not a chance. You're going to suffer that healthy shame. You're going to suffer that lesson. You will sit at the table where your plate is covered in cellophane, and you're going to sit there and you're going to eat cold supper, and then you're going to go to bed. I don't feel bad about it. Don't feel bad. You've got a full belly. I don't feel bad. You can go to bed feeling ashamed. You can hate me. I also think that if academics are good, social life is good, reading books, all these things, other things that you want to have in your life, they are there as a balance. You in the football team, do you play hockey, do you play tennis? Are there things that you do? Because to be honest with you, the release, the social release through things like Fortnite in a boundaried way it's valuable. And I think that there are online relationships that are just as deep in a different way to face-to-face relationships. They're different, but they are international. They are quite interesting. But I think it has to be time limited. So you might say, I mean, in my own family, my 12-year-old knows that he can choose one night in the week to play Fortnite, and then he can play for about 5 hours on a Saturday and about 3 on a Sunday. I'm fine with that. We always go out and do a match. We often go cycling. There's loads of stuff we do. I'm actually okay with that. You've got to figure out what you're okay with. You've got to figure out what you're okay with. And I really like it when my son comes to me and says, and by the way, it doesn't change. So if he picks Tuesday night in advance and says, that's the night I'm going to have my 2 hours during the week, and then he discovers that his friends are playing Wednesday and Thursday, sorry, you got Tuesday, you stick with Tuesday. We don't change this. That's the compulsion one. We don't change this because of how you feel, and we don't change this because of what's going on. You stick to what you chose, you stick to what you're going to do, and you play with what you've got. And this whole idea of being transparent and manageable and working with something means that everybody knows where everybody stands. Because for a child to say, or even a teenager to say, it's okay, I'm not going to do it between, I don't know, 5 and 7, I'm going to do it between 9 and 11 tonight. And the parent's going, oh no, because I planned just being really quiet between 9 and 11. So actually it disturbs my life that you should change your hours. It wasn't the gig, we all made a plan, we all know where we stand, I want you to stick to it. And that then reduces the obsession, because there's no plotting to try and manipulate someone to try and get your own way, because everybody's rock solid, everybody knows the rules, and nobody is damning Fortnite, social media, and so forth for being the bad guy. They're not. They are technology in our homes. I mean, they're potent, they're addictive, but so are many, many things that we use. The key is, do you have the self-esteem? Do you have the wherewithal to put in that time limit and to say, that's all I'm going to do, and I'm going to stick with it? Now, for those of you who are Fortnite players and social media users and so on, I would say to you, figure out in your own mind something that you're going to do. I want to play for half an hour and come off. Put the clock on, run it for half an hour, and then notice how little you want to come off after half an hour. Feel that pull to go over that boundary and to sort of lie to yourself and go, I didn't really mean half an hour, I meant an hour, that must be a mistake. Notice the pull in yourself, because to be honest, it's your relationship with yourself and it's your relationship with technology that's important. It's not mine with my children. My job is to be the good enough parent that helps you to figure out how to navigate this in a similar way that one might with alcohol, drugs, exercise, food, sweets. I mean, you know, pick your poison. It is no different. It's no different. I speak to one last thing. No, that's too big. One last thing. There was that was too big. There was it's a whole chapter. On the social media thing, on the phones, same gig. So you've got usually your daughter there who's saying, you're saying to her, you know, darling, are you going to be ready to go out in 10 minutes? Yep. Is it? No, I want to know, you're going to be ready in 10 minutes? Yeah. Like that. Yeah. Listen, you're not listening to me. I am listening to you. You want to know if I'm going to be ready in 10 minutes? I am ready in 10 minutes. Oh my God, what do you want? Don't speak to me like that. I am sick to death of trying to talk to you when you are looking at that phone. Oh my God, I'm listening to you. What do you want? I am sick of it. Put the bloody thing down. What do you want? Are you going to be ready in 10 minutes? Yeah. Good! I've learned nothing. I speak to people who say, this very morning, I was wrestling with my daughter on the kitchen floor, trying to get the phone out of her hands. You know, and the daughter's in the room going, oh my God. And I'm thinking, I need to peel the parent off the child. You know, don't let this stuff bait you in. Never give up your dignity for anything or anyone. You feel like you're panicking and you're getting angry, get curious. Step away. They're not going anywhere. Step away and go, woo, really pressed a note in me there. Ring your recovery network. Do you know what? I don't like being shamed. My child's just gone, and I could kill him. You know, share about it. Breathe. That's my stuff. Oh my God, my dad used to do that to me. Cool. Comes in, does that, and you're like, decommissioned the bomb. Try something else. I'm an adult. You're a child. I'm here to teach you. So take the risk, to take your time, to engage with this in a proactive way. Be curious about the feelings that come up. Share them, get support around them, talk about them, and help kids, teenagers, to manage this so that it becomes an asset. So we have the boy taking the tech. Sometimes the tech takes the tech, but that's how far it goes. Never, never will the tech take the man, because you taught them that the boy matters. The boy matters. Okay, that's all I want to say. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Mandy and Dawn, thank you both so much. I think we all agree those were super entertaining, informative, and really interesting talks. And unfortunately, we don't have a huge amount of time for questions, but we do have some. So we're going to try and take a few questions. And of course, you know, if we run over, that's okay. If you have to leave, leave. But we're happy to stay and answer your questions. So who would like to ask a question? Yes, the lady with her hand up right there.
Yeah, my question would be about the Fortnite example, for example. I would probably tell my son that I am unplugging and packing away the PlayStation for a week. And I find that that's a threat, right? I don't know, for example, it's not working with my daughter. I've taken her phone away a few times and I'm learning it's not a good way. So I'd like to ask without, like, was that really that bad to pack away the PlayStation?
Can I answer?
Yep.
Yeah. What I'd say is, what I often think about with tech and process addictions is that abstinence isn't not having it. It's kind of healthy use that's not on your feelings. Now, I think that when a child goes over a boundary and really annoys you, because I met a teacher once who said, what happened to a good old-fashioned bollocking, right? Are we not allowed to do that anymore? And I think the key is you do it on your own terms. So if your child annoys you and you immediately take the phone away, it's driven by their energy. And I think the key is to say, if you mess about, if you override a boundary or you behave in a way that we've agreed isn't going to be tolerated within family culture, then tomorrow you won't have your phone. Tomorrow, I'm not going to walk around getting all upset. You've done it now. You know, fine, you win that one. But when you get up in the morning, the PlayStation might be packed up. I have, in the past, I admit this, I've taken the PlayStation and my son's rung me and said, come on then, where is it? And I'm like, it's in the car at the station car park. And now are you sorry for what happened yesterday? I'm not going to fight with you over what happened yesterday. You're supercharged. You're full of adrenaline. You know you're picking a fight with me. You want me to behave badly. And I just look at you and go, it's really disappointing. And you're like, ha, 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 I won that one. Tomorrow, it's not there. It's one day. It's one day. And that's an extreme consequence. That is an extreme consequence. I'd never grapple it out of their hands. And then I would say, when they say, I can't live a day without a phone, I'm like, well, I can't continue to live with you behaving the way you were yesterday. I want you to have a phone. I don't want you to treat me like that. We need to find a way. We need to find a way. I want to talk to you. And it's that. This is ongoing. I bought the thing for you. I support it. But you cannot treat me like that. I'm not having it.
I have another thing on that too, if this helps. So these are privileges, even though they don't see them like that. They see this as entitled, I should have it because my friends have it. But the thing that I do with the kids, I don't believe in punishment, but I do believe in consequences. So what I do, I usually start this, when I said to you before, if you're not at the place yet where these devices or certain ones or certain privileges on them have been introduced, you can do this first. Or you can also introduce what I'm about to tell you. If what Mandy said happens and you have that whole exchange, there is a consequence. Yes, you will live for a day or whatever amount of time without a phone, but I want to give the kids some agency because then they have some juice and some game in the game. So I do not call them contracts, I call them partnership agreements. I make them with the kid. I say, okay, let's sit down together. I'm going to be reasonable. Let's talk about the gaming. Let's look at reasonable time. You tell me, it's what Mandy said also, pick a day or on the weekend. What has to be done before? Then how much time do you get? What happens if you violate it? And you give me some suggestions, they'll give you stupid ones. And then you come together. I write things called partnership agreements with the kid, or I tell the parents to, so that they are partners in the use of the game, and the kid knows if they violate, this is what happens. And I'll tell you, it's a little tricky in the beginning, but over years now, if it's done right, I have achieved great success. I've had gamers who are hardcore gamers who've been gaming for 9 years, and we work together on this because the other thing that Mandy said is true. In a zero-sum equation, if you remove something, even from an unhealthy balanced one, you create a vacuum, and if you don't fill it with something of equal or greater value, they're going to go right back to the drug. So in those times, you also introduce the things, exercise, fun, hobbies, time with family. Create a day with the family that's non-negotiable, or with your child, where every weekend you do this. And so those agreements tend to work really well because the kid knows if they violate it, you have it, and they agree to it.
That's great. Other questions? Yep, right in the back. Wait for the mic.
Oh, sorry. What happens if a healthy guilt isn't resolved and slowly becomes like constant shame?
Say that again.
What happens if healthy guilt isn't resolved and slowly becomes constant shame?
Oh, that's a very good question.
What if it
Wow.
becomes constant shame?
Very good question.
I mean, I would always say go and see someone as a mediator, sit in a room with a therapist, because it doesn't have to be, years and years, months and months. You find someone who's good at what they do, you can have one meeting, because what you want to know, well, very few parents deliberately want to shame their child, and what the child will do is try and shame the parent in order to gain some control. So if the constant shaming is going on, generally speaking, it's about control. Parent doesn't feel heard, child doesn't feel seen. So you want to move away from the negative cyclical pattern and just lighten it up a bit. And that can be, a talented mediator can do that in one session. You literally, in 1 hour, you can shed light on what's actually going on in a really personal situation. Because a shame-based individual will struggle to fulfill their potential, they'll struggle to succeed. They may be very good at things, but it's a bit like they'll have a splinter in the system that just takes them out just before they really achieve whatever it is they want to achieve. Shame is unhealthy, toxic shame is it's a shoddy thing to have kicking around. You don't want it. You need to know how to banish it, not fuel it, and all that. I just think it's toxic stuff. So go see, if it's a cyclical pattern, go see someone and just ask for help. Ask for help at this end of the continuum, not this end. Don't wait.
Shed the shoddy shame.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone else? Oh, one more, I think. Yep, perfect. One more, and then we'll let you guys go.
Do you think it is correct to try to control what a child around 14 years old is seeing in these devices, and how we can control this?
What
are they seeing in their devices? Yeah, what they're seeing and how it affects them.
Can you control those? Is that the question? How can you control? Well, there are many, many, many parental controls, and there's many, and I'm not going to say which ones because I have no affiliation or anything, and Mandy may have some ideas about this too. But their parental controls are super important, especially when you first give that kid a device. I'm just going to put this out very briefly. My child was 9 years old. She was just curious. She Googled funny farm animals doing funny things. You need to put a control on every single app. They'll find their way around them, and they'll put things everywhere, and they'll use their friends, but you're sending them a message that you are monitoring, but there is no shortage, and the more are becoming, every day are becoming more available, and they will continue to be. But you absolutely, certainly when the children are young, you need to, as a parent, you know, again, like I said to you when I was talking, I don't think you give your kid a set of power tools. Give them all of them, no directions, and just say, have at it. And something else Mandy said is so brilliant and right, and I say this too in another way. You need to remember, your kids know you better. Our kids know us better than anyone on this planet, even our partner. They've been watching the show from the beginning. They know our every move. They know what we're going to do before we do it. They know what we're going to order. They've heard us lie to our friends on the phone. They've heard us be honest. They've seen us break down. They know us. So they know how to play us. We are their game. We are the first game they ever play, and they know how to do it because they know us better than our partner. We also sometimes let them in on secrets that we don't even tell. Don't tell daddy. Don't tell mommy. Just know your kids. No one will ever know you like your kids, but we are the first game and the only game they're interested in playing because by playing us, they get to do whatever they want. So be aware they know your chinks in the armor.
Can I add just one other thing? It's something that falls into the kind of whole spectrum, really, of addiction. When people talk about tech, when people talk about going to festivals, when people are talking about their teenagers drinking and all those things, the biggest defense, if you like, or parental control is to support your child to be in good self-esteem. Because nobody will do something harmful to themselves over and over again if they care about themselves. And the quickest way to teach your child good self-esteem is to be in good self-esteem yourself. Every parent I meet says, yes, 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 Mandy, I know, but please just let me talk to you about little Josie. And I'm like, no, we're going to talk to you about you, because I don't know if Josie's ever going to make it in here, but you're sitting in front of me. You are a priority. Your self-esteem will show your child how to be in self-esteem. And that is the gold standard parental control. When they are looking at something weird with a friend, I want them to have a conscience to go, do you know what, that's not right. Or I don't want to see that. Or man, you need to do something about that. And same as when somebody says, do you want to take this? Do you want to drink this? Do you want to go, down that dark alley? I want them to go, man, no, I do not. And that doesn't come from your control. That comes from model behavior because you have taught them that they matter by acting as if you matter. I promise you, it's the most potent and powerful route in.
Yep.
I know this is no one in this room, but one of the things also, what Mandy's talking about is that I tell parents, it is really hard to be a parent, but where I see parents run into a lot of problems, they want to be the cool parent. They want to be friends with their kids, or they let their partner be the one who's the bad cop. We're parents. We have to be responsible. And if you say, oh my gosh, I'm going to call your moms. And I tell parents, oh really, you think you were so perfect? Let me call your mother. But we need to be parents. It is the most important job. So if the kid says, I want to touch the stove, and you say you can't touch, I want to touch the stove, you're going to let him touch the stove? It's very hard. And maybe because of the way we grew up, but we're suddenly 2019, we want to be the cool parents. We want to be the parent who's friends with their kids. And, no, we can't be. And sometimes it's hard. They'll love you more later if they don't hate themselves at the same time.
Agreed. Thank you guys so much. I think thank you all for coming. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank the How To Academy, John Gordon, Sam Algranti. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.